If you are over 60, one of the safest things you may think you can do is take a normal walk, look straight ahead, and keep doing what you have always done. Here's what most people get wrong. Sometimes the safer habit is not the familiar one. Sometimes the little challenge you avoid is exactly what keeps you steady. 5 minutes of walking backward each day can wake up balance pathways that ordinary walking barely touches. In one fall risk study, 81% of older adults who were slow on a simple backward walk test had already reported a fall. 81%. That is not a small number. So remember that number, because an everyday habit that feels harmless may be leaving your brain, your knees, and your balance undertrained. And this is not about doing a quirky trick in your hallway. This is about whether you stay confident on stairs, whether you catch yourself when the curb is uneven, whether you can turn in the kitchen while carrying a pot without grabbing the counter. We are talking about long-term independence. We are talking about the difference between moving through your home with ease and starting to live in a smaller and smaller circle because your body no longer trusts itself. A small training signal, repeated daily, can change that story. I'm a physician, and for more than 15 years I've worked with older adults dealing with arthritis, falls, slow gait, weakness, and the quiet loss of confidence that so often comes before disability. I've also spent years reading the rehabilitation and aging research and watching what actually helps real people when textbook advice is not enough. I'm not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. I'm here to explain, calmly and clearly, what happens inside your body when you walk backward for 5 minutes a day after 60, and why such a small practice can have effects far beyond your legs. Stay with me until the end, because one of the most surprising benefits has nothing to do with burning calories or building muscle. It has to do with attention, reaction time, and the part of your brain that helps you keep from making a bad step in the first place. Most people never see that one coming. And before we go further, tell me your age in the comments or the number of minutes you usually walk each day. I read every single comment, and it helps me understand what this community is dealing with in real life. Before we count through the changes, you need 3 simple ideas in your mind. First, proprioception. That is your body's position sense, your internal map. Think of proprioception like the parking sensors on a car. You do not see them working, but they constantly tell you where you are in space. Second, joint loading. That simply means how force travels through your hips, knees, ankles, and spine. Think of your joints like the hinges on a well-used door. The direction and speed of force matter. Third, cognitive control. That is your brain's ability to pay attention, plan, and correct quickly. Think of it like the air traffic controller for movement. Ordinary forward walking can become automatic. Backward walking cannot. It asks your body and brain to stay awake. Keep those 3 mechanisms with you: position sense, joint loading, and cognitive control. We are going to come back to them again and again. Number 1 is balance, and this is the part that should concern you most if you have ever felt unsteady turning around. Here's what it does inside you. When you walk backward, your usual movement script no longer runs on autopilot. Your feet land in a less familiar pattern, your ankles have to adjust faster, and the small stabilizing muscles around your hips wake up. Think of your balance system like a flashlight in a dark room. Forward walking points that flashlight in a familiar direction. Backward walking forces it to scan the corners. A study from the University of Missouri looked at 59 community-dwelling older adults with an average age of about 71. 25 had reported a fall in the previous year. The people who had fallen were significantly slower on a 3-meter backward walk. More striking, among those who took longer than 4.5 seconds, 81% reported falling. That is not a small number. So, what should you do instead? Start with 20 to 30 steps backward along a kitchen counter or hallway wall once or twice, with one hand hovering near support. Keep your chest tall. Reach back with your toes first, then roll to the heel. Do that for 1 minute today, then build toward 5 minutes total over 2 weeks. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Barbara. 72 years old, from Columbus. She told me the scariest moment of her week was not outside. It was turning to close the refrigerator while holding a glass bowl. She felt that quick, hollow wobble in her hips. After 3 weeks of short, backward walks beside her counter, she said the floor no longer felt slippery under her. Her words, not mine. The sensory detail she remembered was the click of her shoes on the tile, sounding more even, less frantic. Synergy tip: pair backward, walking with a few slow heel raises right after. You train the ankle strategy and then reinforce it. Number 2 is kinder knee loading. Here's what it does inside you. Backward walking changes the job of the quadriceps, the big muscles on the front of the thigh. Instead of braking you the same way they do in forward walking, they work with less harsh deceleration at the knee. Think of your knee like a shopping cart wheel hitting a crack. Forward walking can sometimes create that jolt. Backward walking often smooths the angle of impact. In a randomized trial at King Saud University, 68 adults with knee osteoarthritis were assigned to retro walking, forward walking, or usual care for 6 weeks. The backward walking group showed about 80% greater pain reduction than the control group, and functional improvement was more than double. Their timed up-and-go performance improved as well. If you ignore that and keep assuming sore knees mean you should only move in the one direction you know, you may miss a tool that actually unloads the joint while still training the muscles around it. So what should you do instead? If you have mild to moderate knee pain and your physician has cleared you to walk, begin with 60 seconds backward on a flat surface, rest, then repeat 3 times. Wear supportive shoes. Keep the steps short. If pain rises above a mild ache, stop and reduce the distance next time. A patient I'll call Raymond, 67, from Phoenix, loved morning walks but dreaded the first downhill section near his mailbox. He described his knees as feeling crunchy, like stepping on dry leaves. We added 4 one-minute backward intervals at the end of his regular walk, on a level church parking lot. 2 weeks later, he said the first steps getting out of bed were less sharp, and by week 6, he was moving with less hesitation. Number 3 is functional leg strength, not gym strength, but the kind that helps you rise, recover, and catch yourself. Here's what it does inside you. Because backward walking uses shorter, more frequent steps, the muscles of the calves, shins, thighs, and hips have to coordinate in a different sequence. Think of your legs like a 4-person team carrying a table. When everyone knows only one route through the room, the team looks strong until something blocks the path. Backward walking teaches a second route. That same King Saud trial found that quadriceps strength improved by roughly 143% more in the retro walking group than in the control group, based on the change in measured strength over 6 weeks. Again, not a miracle, a training effect, but a meaningful one. And that matters because after 60, weakness rarely announces itself dramatically. It shows up quietly. You push off the chair with your hands, you avoid low couches, you take the stairs one at a time, then one day you realize your world has narrowed. So what should you do instead? Add backward walking after your warm-up, not before. Do 1 minute backward, 1 minute forward, and repeat 5 rounds. 3 to 5 days a week is enough to create a signal without exhausting you. If you feel your toes slapping, slow down. Quality first. Let me tell you about Denise, 70, from Tampa. She was not trying to become athletic. She wanted to stand up from her garden stool without that little grunt of panic. After a month of practice, she noticed something simple. When she lifted a watering can, her legs felt connected instead of separate. Her phrase was, "I stopped feeling old halfway through the motion." I still remember that. Number 4 may surprise you, and this is the benefit many people never think about. Here's what it does inside you. Backward walking demands concentration. You cannot drift mentally the same way you can on an ordinary stroll. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain involved in planning and quick decisions, has to work harder. Think of that region like the conductor of an orchestra. When the music is simple, the conductor can relax. When the timing changes, every cue matters. Researchers cited by UCLA Health have noted that backward walking increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, and even studies of imagined backward movement found better memory performance after the task. The reason is not magic. It is demand. Your brain is being asked to map space, monitor posture, and correct rapidly. If you ignore this piece, you may keep treating walking as if it only belongs to the legs. It does not. Safe walking is a brain task. So what should you do instead? Use your best mental energy for this drill, not when you are distracted, not while scrolling your phone. Try 2 minutes backward in the morning or early afternoon when you are alert, then build to 5. Count your steps in sets of 10 to keep the brain engaged. I remember a man I'll call Harold, 76, from Des Moines, who told me he did not feel weak. He felt delayed. That was his word, delayed. He could still move, but if the dog changed direction, he felt half a second behind. My first reaction wasn't fear, it was frustration, because so many older adults describe this and assume it is untouchable. After several weeks of backward walking drills, he said he felt quicker to catch the moment. Not younger, quicker. That distinction matters. Number 5 is cardiovascular challenge at a lower speed. Here's what it does inside you. Because backward walking is less mechanically efficient, your body has to spend more energy to do the same simple task. Think of it like driving up a gentle hill in a lower gear. The speed is not dramatic, but the engine has to work. A paper discussed in the conversation, drawing on the Compendium of Physical Activities, noted that backward walking uses about 6.0 metabolic equivalents compared with 4.3 for forward walking at the same speed. That is nearly 40% higher energy demand. Another laboratory study from the Federal University of Paraná, involving 10 trained soccer referees, found significantly higher oxygen use and calorie burn during backward walking than forward walking at the same pace. That means you can challenge your heart and lungs without needing to march fast enough to irritate your knees or leave you feeling out of control. So, what should you do instead? If your balance is solid and your doctor has cleared exercise, try this simple pattern. 1 minute forward, 1 minute backward, repeated for 5 total backward minutes. Breathe through your nose if you can, and aim for a pace where you can still speak in full sentences. A woman I'll call Gloria, 69, from Charlotte, hated the idea of cardio because she pictured breathless punishment. We tried backward intervals in her apartment building hallway. She noticed the sound of her breathing before she noticed sweat, which was useful. It taught her that effort can rise before speed rises. That discovery gave her confidence. If this is helping you, subscribe and share this with one person you love. Many older adults get only 10 rushed minutes in a clinic visit. My mission here is to give you the explanation those appointments often do not have time to cover. Number 6 is stronger communication from the ground up. Here's what it does inside you. When you step backward, your foot contacts the floor in a different pattern, and the small muscles around the ankle must send clearer signals about pressure and position. Think of your feet like the keyboard your brain uses to type movement instructions. If the keys are sticky, the message comes late. The broader backward walking literature, including rehabilitation reviews, repeatedly shows improvements in dynamic balance and gait quality because the task forces more precise sensory feedback from the lower leg and foot, and in the Missouri Fall study, the backward walk test separated fallers from non-fallers better than several common office screens. The consequence of ignoring this is subtle but important. You may keep trying to solve instability at the hip while the first missed message is coming from the foot. So what should you do instead? Practice backward walking in flat shoes with a firm sole, not floppy slippers. Try 30 slow steps, then rest. Once that feels easy, do the same on a very slight incline or on short grass, but only if you are already steady on flat ground. Let me tell you about Nora, 81, from Wichita. Her complaint was not pain, it was uncertainty. She said, I can't tell where my foot is landing unless I look." After a month of practice, she laughed and told me she could feel the edge of the bath mat under her toes again before she saw it. That kind of sensory return can sound small. It is not small. Number 7 is the ability to recover from the unexpected. Here's what it does inside you. Real life is not a straight sidewalk. You turn, you reach, you pivot, you step around the dog bowl, you back away from an opening cabinet door. Backward walking trains deceleration, redirection, and correction. Think of it like a fire drill for your nervous system. You hope you never need the full emergency response, but you absolutely want it practiced. Reference data from a large study of 1,601 adults showed that backward walk performance worsens with age, and men and women alike slowed as the decades advanced. That tells us something important. This is a capacity that ages. If a capacity ages, it deserves training. So what should you do instead? At the end of your session, stop and stand tall for 10 seconds. Then turn your head right and left. Notice whether you feel more centered. Once a week, practice a gentle backward figure 8 around 2 chairs with a spotter nearby. That adds the turning component real life demands. I saw this with a retired bus driver I'll call Leon, 74, from Richmond. His problem was backing away from open drawers in the kitchen. He would bump, shuffle, and freeze. After 5 weeks, he told me the biggest change was not in exercise time. It was when he stepped back from the sink and did not need the counter. He said the room felt larger again. Here is one more point, because safety matters as much as science. Backward walking is powerful precisely because it is unfamiliar. Unfamiliar does not mean dangerous, but it does mean you should respect it. The first week should feel almost too easy. If you are breathing hard enough that you cannot talk, you are moving too fast. If you are twisting your head over one shoulder every second, you are defeating the posture you are trying to train. Keep your eyes forward, your chest lifted, and your steps quiet. Quiet feet usually mean organized feet, and if you use a walker or a cane, do not improvise this on your own. Ask your physical therapist how to adapt it. Sometimes the right version is not free walking at all. Sometimes it is a supported weight shift, a treadmill with rails, or a few backward toe taps while holding a bar. So what should you do instead? Match the challenge to your current level, not to your pride. I also want to be honest about time. 5 minutes is enough to matter, but it is not magic by itself. The power comes from repetition. Think of brushing your teeth. One long brushing session at the end of the month does not protect you. A few minutes done consistently does. Backward walking works the same way. Small dose, frequent signal, reliable adaptation. That is how the nervous system learns, and that is how confidence returns. One final practical note. Do not start on carpet clutter, near pets, or in socks. Use a clear path, good light, and if needed, a second person nearby. The goal is not bravery. The goal is accurate repetition. When the practice feels smooth, then you earn the right to make it longer, slightly quicker, or a little more complex without rushing or forcing it early. Let's bring it all together. Backward walking wakes up proprioception, your internal position sense. It changes joint loading, often making the knees work in a friendlier way. It strengthens the legs in a pattern that carries into real life, not just exercise. It recruits more attention from the brain, especially the systems that help you plan and correct movement. It challenges the heart without requiring high speed. It improves the messages coming from your feet and ankles. And it trains recovery, which may be the most valuable skill of all, because life is full of awkward moments. So far, we've covered balance, knee comfort, leg strength, attention, cardiovascular effort, foot awareness, and recovery. Different doors, same house. Here's what to do tonight. 1. Clear a hallway, countertop path, or flat section of driveway. 2. Wear supportive shoes and keep one hand near a wall or rail. 3. Walk backward for 30 to 60 seconds, then rest. 4. Repeat until you reach 3 to 5 total minutes. 5. Stop immediately if you feel dizzy, sharp pain, chest pressure, or rising panic. 6. Do this 3 to 5 days this week and write down how steady you feel, turning, standing up, and stepping away from counters. Now let me say something plainly. Healthy aging is not only about test results, it is about dignity. It is about carrying your own groceries. It is about turning to hear your grandchild call your name and trusting that your feet will follow without drama. It is about laughing at dinner instead of planning your next careful transfer out of the chair. Here's what most people get wrong. Independence is rarely lost all at once. It leaks away through little avoidances, little hesitations, little movements you stop trusting. So what should you do instead? Give your body small, honest challenges while it can still adapt. 5 minutes, a wall nearby, a clear floor. A daily signal that tells your brain and body, we are still learning, we are still capable. Stay with me until the end, because I want you to hear this part most of all. You do not need a perfect body to improve. You do not need to be fearless to begin. You need a safe plan and the willingness to practice. That is how people stay in their homes longer. That is how they keep meeting friends, lifting laundry baskets, reaching high shelves, and remembering that movement can feel joyful again. It is never too late. If you want more clear, science-based guidance for healthy aging, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And in the comments, tell me this: what feels harder right now? Balance, knee pain, or confidence when turning? I read every single comment.